Is everyone sorted?
Wait, we're just plugging in a mic here.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, at least you're getting some aircon. Not like the rest of us who don't have any aircon.
Okay. Is everyone sorted? And
Let me just whisper something in your ear. Okay, it's unconfirmed, but the IC might have a briefing at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, we'll be done by then.
Yeah,
we'll be done by then.
so we're done.
Long done by then.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you very much for joining us. I should probably get a step ladder quite soon because I feel very, very short. As usual, we're going to make a couple of announcements this afternoon. And I'm going to hand over to John, and then we will take a round of questions. Over to you.
Thank you, Sabiwe, and good afternoon to everybody, and great to see everybody in good spirits still, day and a half in. But obviously we can now, because our team in our projection center has run the numbers, we can now finally, despite the fact the numbers are coming very slowly, confirm that we will govern the city of Cape Town with our own majority. We're predicting it'll be around about 58% of the vote. So the voters of Cape Town have given the DA another 5 years in office to carry on delivering to them there. I think the Cape Town result, along with the DA's performance in other metros, as well as the great victory yesterday in Umgeni municipality, has shown that the DA has made a significant recovery of the lost ground that we lost in the 2019 election. When you look at the projected outcomes for all of the metros now across the country, the DA is going to grow and improve on those from 2019. The only one of the three major parties that's going to improve on its performance in the 2019 elections. Now, obviously, everyone here is comparing the 2016 election, and that is the right thing to do. But I think that you miss out on some of the trend analysis if you miss out on that trend point of putting the 2019 election result in there as well, because that then starts to show you that just how catastrophic the disaster the ANC is facing in South Africa, particularly in the metros around the country, and also the fact that other parties like the EFF on the projections that we have are going to recede in those metros. Obviously, this is encouraging. We took action in 2019 to recommit the party to our core values and principles and to move away from some of the errors that we've made in the past. And I think that is reflecting certainly in the results in the metros. In eThekwini, for instance, we've been able to win 9 wards off the ANC in the eThekwini metro. eThekwini as well, for the very first time in the history of that municipality, is going to fall below 50% majority for the ANC. That is significant. I mean, obviously I started my political career in eThekwini, and at that stage, I think the ANC had about a 68% majority. The fact that today they're sitting under 50% and well under 50%, I think is very, very significant. And it also shows us what is possible in South Africa, where we can bring the ANC below 50%. In terms of Cape Town, I'm really excited about the fact that we get another 5 years there. Our mayoral candidate there, Jordan Hill-Lewis, I think will be the youngest metro mayor in the country at 34 years old. As I said to somebody a bit earlier, if you think DHL delivers, wait till you see our GHL delivers in the city of Cape Town. It's going to be, I think, a great new era, thanks to the drum roll, Nick, a great new era for the city of Cape Town going forward. Jordan already has a 7-point plan that he's unveiled during the course of the campaign, which looks at doing a number of things. Firstly, of course, shielding residents from the failures of national government, particularly around load shedding, moving forward to advance into the IPP space and ensuring that we can shield residents there. Safety and security, housing delivery, water and sanitation, and infrastructure are just some of those things. Now, I know that some of you are very interested about coalitions, and so I did want to just set out for you our process over the next few days. Obviously, the counting has been a bit slower than we would have anticipated. We would like to have been in huddles already with various parties, but we do need to see what the final lie of the land is. We're hoping that by later this evening, but certainly by tomorrow morning, that the fuller picture will start to emerge. We've got a centre running at the Sheraton Hotel, which is crunching the numbers and doing the projections. So we're pretty confident that by later this evening, we will have a firm lie of the land. What we've then is developed a matrix we've been working on for the last 3 months for each municipality in South Africa. What we will then do is input the figures that we project into the matrix, and what that will do is start to give us the various permutations that will be possible within those municipalities and the various coalition options. Once those permutations have been decided, we will sit down then with our negotiating team and our federal executive, and we will go through those various options and determine which would be the best option for us, for the residents of the city, and for a stable coalition. And I want to repeat that because I want everybody to be absolutely clear about this. I don't want to go into unstable coalitions. The situation we've had in Tshwane over the last 5 years has been incredibly difficult. Running a minority government, living between council meetings, it's very, very difficult to do so. So I'll be looking to create stable, solid coalitions that will be able to go the distance and not fall apart from one council meeting to the next. That will commit then to a coalition agreement that we've already drafted. Our lawyers have also spent the last 2 months doing a draft agreement. What we will then do is go out to the various parties that we believe are the better permutations, and we will share this document with them. We will enter into talks with those political parties, and obviously they will take the document. I'm sure they would like to make some input into those documents and put their views on the table. And so those negotiations will hopefully start as early as tomorrow, but certainly as we head out later in this week. We're not going to rush into knee-jerk reactions or hasty decisions. This needs to be a deliberate decision that goes the distance over the next 5 years. The metros have been characterized by instability over the last 5 years, and what we're going out there for is a stable coalition that's going to be able to deliver services and last that distance. Once that's concluded, we will obviously then make an announcement around those where they've been finalized and share that information publicly. We also intend, once all the parties have signed the coalition agreement, to make those documents public, not only to the media, but also to the residents of those municipalities, so that they understand very clearly what the objectives of the coalition are, what the coalitions wish to achieve over the 5-year period, and what the red lines are. So interference in tenders will not be tolerated. Corruption and maladministration will not be tolerated. Cadre deployment will not be tolerated. And if any of the parties cross those red lines, they must understand that we will walk away from that coalition, and we want people to know up front what the red lines for us will be. I'm sure there will be red lines for other political parties as well. And we then hope to start a new era of stable coalition government here. I must also say that should our negotiations fail, should we not be able to put together a stable coalition based on values and principles, we will be very prepared to go and take up our seat as the official opposition in any of those municipalities and serve the residents in that council as a strong, determined, capable opposition, as we are in Parliament and other councils, for the remainder of the 5 years. There's only one thing worse than losing an election, and that's going into election, forming a coalition and then governing badly. I don't want that to be the story in 5 years' time as we go and ask people for their votes again, and so we want that stability. May I also just say that I think these results across the board show us what is possible, and that we can bring the ANC below 50% in the national and provincial elections. And certainly the projections in the metro areas show us very, very significantly just how much ground the ANC has lost. I believe that's going to be the game changer moment in South Africa. We need to get these coalitions right, because I think they're going to be the way of the future as we build new majorities in provinces and at a national level in the years to come. Thank you, Sibiwe. I'm happy to take any questions. I am aware there's another smaller briefing taking place in a few minutes. So,
Cool. Let's perhaps take a round of 5. Karine, Nick, Humoto. Okay, I'll take those 3 for now.
Karine de Pacific, last journalist. I have a question about coalitions. You say it's the way of the future. But when parties campaign, we don't know, the voters don't know who they will go into coalitions soon. Do you think that will change in perhaps the next 5 years? Will the DA in future campaign?
I don't, look, I certainly think at a local level it's not going to change. So I think it's going to be difficult. I think every party goes out to get as many votes in the box as they possibly can so they can try and energize their supporters. We saw what happened in KwaZulu-Natal, for instance, I think it was just after 2000, when the DA and the IFP announced the Coalition for Change, and we campaigned on that, both parties ended up losing votes and didn't energize. So what a party wants to do is energize their base in an election so that you can get your most votes in the box. However, at a provincial and national level, who knows what's going to happen once the ANC falls below 50%. We've seen in places like Kenya and other countries in Africa, these umbrella bodies that campaign as an umbrella coalition to unseat a government or to form a government. And so that may well be the future. The truth is the proportional representation system lends itself to coalitions. Every proportional representation system in the world eventually ends up in a coalition. So I do think that in the future, there may well be an umbrella organization that is formed of a number of parties that currently in the political spectrum that unite to form an umbrella. Who knows, it may even be a new organization in the politics to do that. But I think this is the genesis of it. These are the seeds that are going to have to germinate over the 5 years to give and restore, I think, people's hope in coalitions, which is why, for me, stability is the bedrock of these things. We cannot have another 5 years of chaos, particularly in the metros. So stability is what I'm looking for in coalitions and shared values and principles. Who's next? Nick, I think was next. Yeah.
This is a question about your leadership with the DA, Mr. Steenhuisen. Yesterday, I think it was about the happiest we've seen you since the beginning of the election campaign. Notwithstanding maybe the sleep that you've got in the past 24 hours. That change in demeanor came after your announcement that you won your first municipality as the DA in KZN. Do you believe that is enough to secure your ongoing leadership of the DA?
Yes, I do think it is. I think that the result that's on the board as well is going to reconfirm that. A lot of people wrote...
If I can just finish with my question.
Sorry, I didn't know you hadn't finished, Nick. Sorry.
What
Yeah.
I'm trying to say is that you've said that you want to compare this result with the 2019 general election result. Do you think that really winning that municipality in Nguni was enough to ensure your ongoing leadership of the DA, notwithstanding the fact that you have dropped local election to local election?
Yeah, well, as I said, I think you've got to put the trend point in there. And remember, the party I inherited was a party that got 20.6% and then plummeted to 16% in the polls and stayed there for about a year as we started to turn the party around. I think the results on the board behind shows that not only have we reconsolidated, but we started to grow, even on that election. The 2016 election was a different universe. We were at the height of the Stop Zuma campaign, probably the most unpopular president in the history of the country, people on the streets of South Africa. 6 years ago, 3 years ago, or less than 3 years ago, we had the 2019 election, which we can't ignore as a barometer of where things are, and with Ramaphosa at the helm. So I think it is a useful comparison. I'm not for one instant saying disregard 2016. What I am saying is that we do need to put a midpoint there to see the trend lines that are happening. And that's when you see what's happened to the EFF, and I think while they've been a bit quieter at this particular results centre, is that they can also see what has happened, particularly in the metros. So, obviously it's going to be up for the Federal Council and the Federal Executive to decide. I think we've had a good election in spite of the huge predictions that were made of us getting 16, 17, 19%. And I think that it's a respectable result and one that we can build on going into the future.
Is your position safe? Do you feel safe?
Yes, I feel completely secure, absolutely secure. Wow, are you planning a challenge, Nick? Is there something I should know about?
Komoto and then Natasha, and then I'll take one more if there is, and then I'll close the session. And Liz, okay, cool.
Thank you for your response, please, John. Comment on George. It seems like there's been a progression from the DA compared to the last election. You're on for 55 and you're 46 now. Are you concerned that the people of George don't believe in your leadership?
So John, I think let's take all the questions and then we answer just so that colleagues can move. Yes, Natasha?
From SABC News, just a clarity-seeking question. Who will be leading your coalition talks? Will it be you? Will it be the Federal Council Chairperson, Ms. Hamilton?
Yeah, thanks very much. So on George, I think there was a local dynamic there, and I don't think you should write off the Cape Exit factor there, particularly who came together with the Freedom Front there. I think Cape Exit has got a very strong presence in George, but I'm convinced that we will retain control of that municipality in a coalition. It will continue to be a DA mayor there. We have by far the bigger majority there, and we will continue to be in the driving seat there with a potential coalition with probably the Freedom Front, but as I say, no talks have been entered into yet, but that would secure us a significant majority in that particular municipality.
Confidence in your leadership?
Oh.
Yes. So the last part of my question was, do you think the people of George are losing confidence in your leadership as a leader?
Well, I'm not a leader in George, so it's very difficult to say. No, I don't think so. I think that there's a local dynamic there around Cape Exit particularly, and around turnout. I mean, it's been a very difficult government for us. Remember, we had to remove a mayor there for alleged corruption and maladministration. We didn't want to leave him in office there. We removed him because he didn't fit our values and that there. And obviously that did have an impact. I'm not going to pretend it didn't. And it was a knock of confidence, and a DA having to remove a mayor because of unsavory behaviour or behaviour that's not becoming what we expect. So I think that there's a local dynamic there, but I think the fact that we are the biggest party in George shows that by far the overwhelming number of people in George still believe that the DA is the party that is able to govern and govern well. We'll have a negotiating team. I will be heading up the team. The Federal Council Chair, the Deputy Chairs, as well as a number of other people identified will be the main team at the top. Then provincial leaders and provincial chairs will be responsible for local negotiations, and they will then feed back up into our team. But as I say, it's a very scientific approach we've adopted, that we've been working for the last few months on getting those matrices right, and the Federal Council Chair's office has been doing the formulas and the form in which those take, which is going to make it very easy for us to just input the results and see what the permutations are and what that would mean going forward. But local, it'll be done locally in the provinces, feeding up. And of course, ultimately, our federal executive will make the final decision about whether a coalition agreement is signed off or not. So the negotiating team will then report back on each particular municipality to do it. We're also not going to be looking for omnibus agreements. We want to look at a municipality by municipality agreement. So we may work with one party in one municipality, but not in another municipality. It may differ. What the big thing here is stability. How do we bring stable, accountable government that delivers to the people of those municipalities so we can get things done for them?
Cool. Last question, Lizzie, and then we wrap up.
John, in terms of you've stated that you don't want to work with the EFF, you've stated that very
Sure,
clearly.
yeah.
But are there other parties where you have identified that you would not ideally want to work with? And also, in terms of coalition agreements, in Johannesburg, for instance, you will need parties such as the Action SA. Are you willing to go into a coalition where you find yourself in the back burner in the sense that your coalition partners become mayors of that municipality?
Yeah, well, on the first one, look, as I said, we will talk to any party that shares those core four values and principles. There's only one party we've ruled out at this stage, and that's the EFF. I think that what I've said about bringing the ANC below 50% and the broader project about building a new majority would mean that it's very difficult to do any deal with the ANC either. In terms of actually say, we'll be happy to talk to them, but they promised people that they were going to get 40%, I think, in Tshwane and 30-something% in Joburg. They're going to end up at about 16. We're going to end up at 30. It would be odd to have a mayor from a small party there. We're happy to talk about. We talk about MACO seats, etc. We're happy to talk about sharing portfolios, but it would be very difficult as the lead party in a coalition to hand the mayoralty over to a smaller party.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Hopefully
Thanks very much,
we'll see you
everybody.
guys
I
soon.
hope we finished on time for you. Thank you very much.